Robert S. Greitz.
Could you spell that?
Greitz. And I am 78 currently. I will be 79 come July. And I was in the Air Force in 52 to 56.
So let's go back to the time that you were around, you were born. When were you born?
I was born on July 11th, 1934.
Where were you born?
In Queens, New York.
Ah, you're from New York. I'm from New York too.
Really?
Yeah.
What part are you from?
Syracuse.
Oh, you're upstate.
Yes.
I was in your neck of the woods when I went to basic training. It was at Geneva.
Oh, you did receive a basic training from Geneva?
At Geneva. It was called Sampson Air Force Base.
Ah.
It was right between Syracuse and Rochester. It's a little bit down in the Finger Lakes region.
Yeah, I know where Geneva is. Yeah. So you born...
Beautiful country.
Yes, very beautiful. What school did you go through?
Grammar school was in the public school system of New York. In fact, it was called PS. The one I spent the most time in was called PS 67. So I was in the public school system of New York. I was at. My dad worked at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and he was way ahead of his time. He didn't think that you should have to use public transport to get to work. You should be able to walk to work. So in about 1940, he got the job at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and we moved to Brooklyn.
Ah.
And that's where he got up every day and went to mass at 6 o'clock mass, and 7 o'clock he was in the Navy Yard doing his thing. Yeah.
What was his job
Painter.
description? Painter.
And he mostly spray painting, because they were doing sides of ships and large areas.
Yeah. Alex was also spray painter.
I did not know that.
Yeah. You know him here, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So,
can I ask you, is
sure.
your name Korean?
Yes.
Well, this is interesting. It's very fitting. You're doing a thing on the Korean War.
My name is
Jong-woo Han, huh?
Oh, that's very good pronunciation.
Thank you.
I'm from South Korea, and I'm the president of Korean War Veterans Digital Memorial Foundation. It's not physical museum, but it's in the website, so that your interview will be uploaded. That's why I got the signature from you to release it.
Well, I may be here under false flag. I was in during Korea.
Yeah.
But I was nowhere nearer to Korea than, in fact, I was farther away from it on my duty station. They sent me to, after training, after Sampson, I went to Cheyenne, Wyoming for communications training. May I keep this?
Yeah, sure.
And then they sent me to what was called the Northeast Air Command.
Yes.
That consisted of 3 bases in Greenland, 3 bases in Newfoundland, and 1 in Labrador. And we were part of what was called the DEW Line. Have you heard of the DEW Line?
No. Explain it.
It was a network of radar stations creating an arc across the North Pole, if you will.
Yeah.
And that so that the Russians wouldn't send us ICBMs and burn us all in our beds. And of course today all that is gone, all those bases are gone, and they do that with one single satellite, what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so I was at a place called Red Cliff, which was about 12 miles from Pepperell Air Force Base in St. John's, Newfoundland. And we were up there on a mountaintop, a beautiful view, 360 degrees, North Atlantic Ocean, and farms on that hill. We had trouble with the farmers. They didn't tie up their cattle, they'd come through the squadron. You'd wake up one morning and you look out the window, and here's old Bessie looking you in the window, you know, with a moo. You know. And then they'd round them up and get them out of there. Nice people, very nice people, but they were really kind of backward. You know, I would say, like, from what I came from in the 50s in New York, they would have been like in the 1930s. Mm-hmm. Still had apartment houses with the pump outside the building.
Yeah.
The water pump. You know, I thought it was fascinating to see men coming home from work and they were standing up right at the curb,
and
washing up before they went in their house. You know, but very, very dear people. Mm-hmm. And nothing ever happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nothing.
So you've never been in Korea?
Never.
Never been in Korea. So let's talk about, when did you enlist yourself, or you drafted?
No, Air Force, you're all volunteers.
Volunteers.
Yeah.
When was it?
August 52.
August 52, you enlist Air Force.
Yeah. August 13 to be exact.
Uh-huh. And
I'll be very truthful with you. You know, Korea went on from like 48. And there were people in my neighborhood who were coming back with no fingers and no toes, you know, from the frostbite. And I looked at that. There I was, 18 years old, already working. I was not in school. I wouldn't get a deferment. And so I decided that I better get my butt in an area where I know I got a good berth. So I enlisted in the Air Force.
yeah.
And actually, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I got my college education. I qualified as a Cold War veteran and a Korean veteran.
Yeah.
So I went to college. I was working full time with a wife and a son, so I could only go like half time. It took me 11 years to get through college, but that was fine with me.
What did you study?
Marketing and transportation.
Marketing and transportation? Where?
Cal State LA, and my junior college was at a place called Los Angeles Trade Technical College. That's where I started. Mm-hmm. And then I went up to, when I called it, you complete the basic core, you know, and then you go up to the higher division.
What's the deal of the GI Bill? What is it? What is the...
Well, it was you get paid to go to college.
Everything?
Well, when you say everything, on half-time, I was getting $175 a month. And I was in a city and in a state college. Mm-hmm. That made my house payment.
If you move around...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm fairly animated when I talk.
I know. I'm sorry. Let's go back to the GI Bill. So basically, government paid the whole tuition. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, how much do they pay?
Well, it was $175 a month when I went. It's probably more today.
$175 for what?
For your tuition and books.
But they cover the tuition, so they covered you.
No. That you have to make your own deal. You have to make your own deal.
So that's a flat $175 per month per veteran.
Right, and you have to authenticate it. You had a slip of paper that you had to give the professor to sign that you were there. Mm-hmm. And you had to send that in. I never got challenged that, where is your slip, or thank you, we got your slip, but I just did what I was told to do.
How much was the tuition at the time per semester?
Peanuts. It was like $16 a unit.
$16 per unit.
Per unit. So if you had a course that was 3 units, 3 times 16. That was your whole tuition for that course, and plus books, which would be separate.
How much per unit? $6?
16.
$16
per unit.
Wow.
It was a steal. It was a steal. And you know, with the GI Bill, you got a low cost home loan.
Oh.
and you got your schooling, and you had, like right now, I'm enjoying part of my veterans benefits because I'm in a veterans home here.
What do you mean by unit? When you register one course,
Yeah,
how many you did? 3 units?
Typically 3.
Okay.
If it has a lab, that means you have to go 2 nights. It's like 4 units or maybe even 5 units.
So, $48 per course. Wow, I want to go back to that.
I know. Well, remember, we're talking in the 50s and 60s. Those dollars were pretty big in those days, you know.
Yeah. It worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there were literally millions of guys who took
GI Bill and
the advantage of that. There's a famous one, the guy who was a writer. He was at SC, and he was in the cafeteria. Art Buchwald. He became a journalist and writer, and a student said to him, "Are you a veteran?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "You're here on the GI Bill?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "You know, you could go to Paris to go to college if you wanted." He said,
You kidding me?
You mean I can pick a school and it's not even in the country? Yeah. The next day he left for Paris. He became a college student in Paris, and he was a funny man.
So that didn't matter wherever you are.
No, the money came to you as long as you were in school.
How much did you need to live a month at the time, including housing and meals and so on?
If you wanted to be really thrifty, you know, like college students don't necessarily have 3 big meals a day. You know, it could be a can of soup at night. You could probably do it for $100.
So 178, that was a plenty. So you were able to attend the university, finish it, and you were able to support your family.
I was supporting my family, but it led to better jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great deal, isn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I don't know what they have now. I'm sure that GI benefits still exist, but I don't know what they do.
So you've never been in Korea,
No.
but you are a Korean War veteran.
Yeah, because I was overseas at the time of the conflict.
And that's what I'm trying to educate our young generation. When they talking about Korean War veteran, they think that only soldiers who've been in Korea fit into that category. No.
And that same theory applies to any war we are involved in. You could be a World War II veteran, and if you were in during the conflict, I don't even know if you have to be overseas, because
You don't have to.
you'd be a lot of guys who were here in this country.
Yeah, and they're still Korean War veteran.
There's one guy. In fact, my roommate, he was World War II, and he was 18 months on Guam. He never fired a shot. He was in armament, you know, loading planes.
Yeah.
And nobody ever fired a shot at him, and he never fired a shot at anyone else. But he's a World War II veteran.
Yeah. So you didn't know nothing about Korea at the time?
Very, very little.
What did you know?
I knew that the North Koreans, back up, when the Russians came in, there was a deal where the Russians would claim certain territories. So, in addition to Mongolia and some other places, they got Korea north of the 38th parallel. And that was settled in like 45 after the war.
Yes.
Well, about 48, when the communists decided that they wanted to, let's say, increase their borders, they moved into South Korea. And that was when the conflict began.
Yeah.
And the United States sent the South Korea had an army, but it wasn't much of an army. It was just a fledgling army. And so the American forces sent troops in there. And it was very clear from the very beginning that many of the troops that we were fighting were Chinese communists and not just Vietnamese communists.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So the Korean War was between South and North, but at the same time it was between...
It was U.S. and China.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why the Korea is still divided.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, they never settled the war. It was a truce.
Exactly.
It was in 1954 where they settled a truce. Nothing was really ever decided except you stay on your side of the 38th and we'll stay on our side.
Yeah, it was 1953, July 27th,
okay.
the armistice. So, as you pointed out, this is the longest war in 20th century.
Exactly. And really the most unnecessary, because what the hell did North Korea want to do with South Korea? Make it the desert that they have now.
Yeah.
You know, South Korea has a lot of industry, and they've come forward, and they're not a world power, but they're a good place to live. And North Korea is not a very good place to live at all.
Have you been back to Korea?
No, but I read the paper.
Yeah.
I know they're having trouble. They're having trouble feeding their own people. You know, the Russians were selling them sugar under market just to keep them happy. But now that the Russians are broke, they're not selling them that sugar under market.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what? Korea is actually becoming a world power. Do you know how small this South Korea is?
You mean in square miles?
Yeah.
I know it's very small.
It's the size of Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And we started our industrialization in 1962.
Mm-hmm.
1962. Because everything was devastated by the Korean War. You know? And now we are 11th largest economy in the world.
I didn't know that.
11th largest.
Mm-hmm.
And 7th largest trading partner to the United States.
That's a big plus for a democratic system. You know? A huge plus, yeah. Because look at the communist nations. They haven't moved at all. Were you born in Korea?
Yes.
What age were you when you came here?
I came here right after the graduation of my university. 85.
Oh, you went to university back there, huh?
And I finished my PhD here and master's.
Which school?
Syracuse University.
Oh, that's right. You did mention Syracuse.
Yeah. So, you know, the Korean War and the Korean War veterans actually has a great legacy here, right?
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. And I love to see it when democracy triumphs, because what you're doing, and granted you've had some help from the U.S., so what? But when you have a new emerging nation and it goes from devastation to, what did you say, 11th largest?
Economy in the world.
Largest economy in the world. That's outstanding.
Outstanding.
And unfortunately, they don't play that up. They should. And you know, they've got motor cars now with the what is it? The Diwa, the
Hyundai.
What?
Hyundai.
Sunday and the Hyundai.
Hyundai, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's Korean.
Yeah.
And there's another one, isn't there?
Samsung. And Kia.
KIA.
Yeah. Samsung has their own car, but they have a cellular phone, the biggest market in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we produce most of the electronics. The TV that you are watching may be from Korea, refrigerator, oven, you know, microwave, these things. Now,
Yeah, my cell phone is Samsung, I believe.
let me see it.
Yeah, Samsung.
Show it to the camera, please.
Well, there's the name, Samsung. And you can see it again when I turn it on. it's a featureless phone because I don't play games and I don't do any of that stuff.
Right.
All I need is to talk to, I have one surviving brother. He's in Pennsylvania. The rest of my family is all dead. He's older than I. He's 9 years old. In fact, I talked to him about a half an hour ago. He lives in the Pocono Mountains.
Yeah, I know.
You know that?
Yeah.
He's a retired cop.
Pocono, yes, I like that place.
The closest town that he lives in is Scranton.
Scranton, yes. Yeah, I used to pass by. Yes. So, how did your service in the military affect your life?
Oh, dramatically. The schooling. And I think it rounded me, exposed me to other people, understand their failings. You know, when you're a New Yorker, you're kind of, especially a New York City boy, you're kind of a wiseacre, you know. But when you get in the service and you meet other guys, and if you've got a brain, you can say, well, you know, he's wrong, but that may be where he's coming from for whatever the reason. You know?
Yeah. So it turned out to be good for you.
Absolutely, yeah. Best 4 years I ever invested, you know.
Any other story that you got out of your service in the Northeast Commander Air Force?
Well, yeah, one thing that you could gauge on the way we had changed, I was in a radar site called the Ground Controlled Intercept. And because we were having to monitor military planes, we also had to monitor civilian because they're sharing the same airways.
Yeah.
And in those days, in 52, 56, we would get the traffic coming out of Shannon, going over to Gander. They'd be turned over to Gander, or they'd be turned over to a place in Massachusetts called, I can't remember the name of the base, but I think it was something like Chippewa Falls, Massachusetts. So a big night with heavy traffic was like 38 flights.
Oh.
You've got to remember, these are 2- and 4-engine aircraft, piston-driven, not jet. And a big deal was probably like 44 seats. And then when the DC-6 came along, maybe that goes up to 75 seats. You know? And at Christmas time, the traffic would go up to, say, 50 flights. Well, if you've watched any television and you see traffic from when they're holiday times and they're worrying about the flights and everything, there's literally thousands of planes up there now, or it seems to be. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't think anybody counted on mass transportation multiplying as fast as it has, in any way, shape, or form. And the same thing is true on the ground. You know, I came here from the Bay Area. I lived in Sausalito. And the two big bridges, the Golden Gate and the Bay, they handle about 50,000 cars a day. They were built in 35, 36, you know, when probably 500 cars was a big deal. And those engineers, you know, they were doing this with a slide rule and a yellow tablet. But they're still holding together, and they're still able to handle all the traffic. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah. That's right. You mentioned about the U.S. and China collided each other in Korean Peninsula. And the Koreans are still divided. I mean, there are problems of North Korea, but let's set aside it, okay? What should we do to reunify Korea? What do you think U.S. should do and can do?
I don't know that U.S. can do more. That North Korea is such a closed society. I don't know how much more we can do to get them to open their borders. The one thing, and I don't know where the Korean government stands on this, but the internet would be, if they get an opening for the internet, there's going to be no holding those people back once they get a taste of what's going on in the rest of the world. And they will demand a change. It'll come from within. And that's got to be the best way, because you don't have to shoot anybody to convert. You know, it's the people. They just won't stand for it. The problem is, do they have the courage to stand up to it? Because the current guy, it seems to me to be a bit of a mental defective, you know. He is, isn't he? He thinks he's divine, you know. He actually thinks he's divine. You gotta, hopefully, he'll kill himself skiing or something, and a grayer head will take over. But I don't know what the U.S. can do, except maybe just helping South Korea more. Exposure into South Korea, the brighter the South Korean star will shine. And that's got to shine into their closest neighbor.
You're making such a good points here, you know.
I'm a genius, didn't you know that?
I know. Yeah, you made a point that U.S. and China collided each other, and then now you're talking about internet, and the North Korean government is aware of the power of the internet. That's why they don't open up the networks for the North Korean people. And now you're talking about the shining model of South Korean prosperity, right? You're a genius.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, these are the 3 points that I made in my article.
Where do I pick up my genius check?
Bill me later.
Well, it's just common sense, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, but
you don't have to destroy a country to take it over. Show them a better way of life. You know, that's why I like the Buddhists so much, because you know, so many religions they say, well, you got to join us because we have the best one and we got all the right ideas, you know. But the Buddhists would say, oh, hello, you want to worship with us? That's fine. We'd love to have you. But if you don't, that's fine too. We'll respect your religion if you respect ours. And there's very few religions that do that, you know. That's what I guess, the way, maybe that's why I think that we can do it with setting example for a better way of life. What do you think will happen over there?
Nobody knows, but China is keep pressuring against North Korea to open up, and North Korea losing their leverage against these big countries. They used to have big brothers of Soviet Union. They lost it, and China is busy with their own modernization plan, and they don't want any interruption. So, you know, the relationship between China and North Korea is not used to be what it was. You know.
And they're having problem with North Korean refugees that are going into their country and working for nothing.
Another genius point.
Yeah.
So it will build up the pressure against North Korea, and I think they will gradually open up. But you know, it's also a political regime. They don't want to lose their political power.
Exactly.
And any regime in the world doesn't want to lose their power.
The politicians in every country is living up. They are living like kings.
Yes.
Even our own country. You know, you only have to be in Congress for 6 years, and you get a pension, which is about $70,000 a year. Where in the hell in the world can you buy that? You know, nowhere.
Yeah. Do you have any message to young generations about military service?
Well, I believe everyone should do what they want to do, and don't let anybody sell you on going in the military if you want to go in the military. But if you make a choice, you sign the paper, I'm going to do 3 years or 4 years or whatever, be the best that you can be. And take advantage of all the things that come your way because of the military. There are a lot of guys who leave and they take no benefit of the GI Bill or anything. And they go home to where Iowa or whatever. And then when they're 35 years old, they say, gee, how come the world passed me by? You know, the world didn't pass you by. You missed the bus, buddy, you know. That's the only thing. And I'm very sad. Like, for example, we have Iraq and Afghanistan. You look at the casualty reports, they're all Hispanic, and the other people are African American. So the burden of military is not being shared by the entire population, and I think that we ought to share it equally. We're going to have the draft again. The middle class are not going and putting their kids in there. And I think there should be a sharing of everybody, not just the poor.
Yeah, I like that idea.
The politicians know the draft is political suicide, though.
I know. But that's why it's not going to be happening.
Well, you know, you could make it more pliable by the draft or community service. You have to go into a place where they need doctors and act as an aide or something like that. There's a lot of them.
There you go. You are a source of many good ideas. Huh?
Well, you know, we used to have that in this country. We had the Frontier Network, which were back in this would be in the 30s, where young girls were in the hills in West Virginia and so were on horseback. Mm-hmm. Going around and giving the best they can do with very little training. But that was the only medical profession a lot of those people in those days ever saw. That was a wonderful program. And that was not government. That was a volunteer thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other message or any other comments that you want to leave with this interview?
Just keep smiling and punching, and you'll get through this life.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Pleasure meeting you.